racial activism, EPA, Indian deal, and there's a couple of reasons why you're going to want to vote negative in this round. First of all, they mishandled the politics dissent, only reading 2 non-uniques in their 2AC. They said that this overwhelms my uniqueness answers. First of all, my cards have better warrants, and I'll get to that in a line by line and explaining why they answered it back better. And I have newer cards and simply overwhelm them by reading almost twice as much as they do. And on distinguish, I'm going to prove to you why the dissents that we're going for doesn't link to the counter plan and why it will solve 100% of their case. And they're just not doing as much work as us on the dissent flow or explaining why the counter plan can't solve. They're just using buzzwords like it can't solve, it doesn't solve for anything. Okay, I'm moving on to activism. We're not going through this dissent, but go to their plan solve. The plan doesn't solve because their activists cross-apply the link, and there's no analysis here. And also, it doesn't function as offense. The best they get is that our counter plan links just as much, and that makes the dissent move here. Moving on. On EPA, first thing he does is he extends across their uniqueness. First, cross-apply that the courts are going to rule on Massachusetts versus EPA, and the card goes into analysis on how this is going to happen really soon, how the court is actually saving, they're saving political capital to actually rule on this case. He doesn't give any analysis to here why their uniqueness is better than mine, so you're going to defer to mine as well. He also only extends that that it's not global warming, but the language. He only extends the tag here, gives no analysis, where remember my analysis is that even if the technicalities are about the language, what you're going to look to is that all of my cards that I'm talking, all the cards that I've extended through the entire debate are talking about how that this case and the regulations that the businesses will have to ensue will solve for global warming, and that's where we get the impact in this debate. Next, he says he extends that their no link card cross-apply the plan drains political capital because it's a direct overrule. Now our counter plan doesn't link to this as much, and I'll get to that exactly on the counter plan flow. They try to bring this new argument about perception and how it's perception that's perceived in this, but I'll get to that on the counter plan flow and why we don't link to the dissents. And they said that their impacts outweigh. First, extend my analysis that you have to look at life and also the relations to what happens to those lives. And at the point where on my deontology cards I read, so what those cards say is they say that you have to look at the deontologists where they fail is they don't look to what happens as a consequence to their actions. You have to look, yes, at rights, but you also have to look at what happens to those lives as well. So you're going to look to that as well. And moving on to the India deal. On the India deal, he tries to make this argument that they're overwhelming us on the uniqueness and that they have much better warrants. He gives no analysis on how they're overwhelming us or what warrants he's actually talking about. Now, what my uniqueness cards talk about is how India and U.S. both agreed that this deal should pass right now. And right now, both sides are working, and there's partisanship on working on getting this bill passed. That's when my uniqueness goes that step, and they just actually don't go that step on explaining how their uniqueness answers this back. It also says how it's sure that it's going to plan and cross-apply my original Mohan card that says that it's going to pass in the lame duck session right now. And also, we're just reading better and newer cards that also assume the new House and Senate in this result. They're all from November 29th and 28th. They're new cards, and they also just have better warrants, and I'm explaining them better to you. Don't allow them to come and bring this new analysis into their 2AR because I don't get another speech, and they just weren't giving it to you in their last speech. And also, just extend the Katzman evidence that their plan will arouse partisanship and it won't allow it to pass. And also, the bill has to pass in the lame duck session, or they're going to have to start from scratch because the Democrats and Republicans are going to start disagreeing on this issue. Remember that that nuclear war is the most probable scenario for war. He says we don't have impact analysis, but I do, because India and Pakistan both have weapons pointed at each other, and also we have the quickest time frame in this scenario. result because of that result. And also, they never answered my card back. It says that nuclear war impacts have to come first, that their potential to destroy humanity is like another impact. That's my Shell 82 card. It goes to it goes to the length of explaining why you have to look at why even if we're only speaking infinite, it's still infinity, and you have to look at what happens as a consequence of nuclear. Him just extending that we say rights are more important doesn't do enough for them. Move on to the counterplan. The counterplan, all he says, we're just doing the same thing over again, and that our counterplan links just as much, but he gives no analysis. He says all we're doing is erasing distinguish. No, we're saying that distinguish is distinctly different from overruling. And that the process is completely different, and our cards explain that. Also, here's another card that distinguishing shields from saliency, only the plan links to politics. Rookledge in 2000. The considerable anecdotal evidence suggests that when judges care deeply about particular legal issues and disagree with existing precedent, they often subvert to the doctrine of itself that fetters from the stretching to distinguish. The proposed bench of partisanship requires the judge to follow directly on knowledge, controlling authority of early decisions despite any personal agreement. So our distinguish doesn't link to our disads, and even if so, we have a chance of solving their case on the rights issue, and also they're not doing enough on the Indian nuclear deal or the EPA disad, and we're still got a risk of those disads, so you're going to vote negative. Bottom line.
Can I see the new card, please?
How much time? Oh, a little bit more than 2.